Hello, everyone. My name is Jonas. This is my podcast, Jonas Cast. Today, I will read the book Think and Grow Rich, Chapter 11, Part 2. Alright, let's go. The pages of history are filled with the records of great leaders whose achievements may be traced directly to influence of women who arose the creative faculties hold their minds through the stimulation of sex desire. Napoleon Bonaparte was one of legion of sex desire. Napoleon Bonaparte was of this when inspired by the first wife. Joseph we was responsible and invincible. When is the better judgment? Your reason factly prompted him to put Josephine aside. We beg and decline with the fine and Elena were not far distant. For good taste would permit the mind earthly mation source of man. Well you know, to the American people who climbed to great weights for achievement under the stimulating influence of their wives, only to drop back to destruction after the money and the power went through their hands. They put inside the old wife for new one. Napoleon was not only meant to discover that the sex influence from the right source is more powerful than subscribe the experience with the Mabel created by reason. The human mind responds to simulation. Among the greatest and the most powerful of the simulation is urge of sex. When hungration and transmutation, this driving force is capable of lifting man into higher spiral of motion which enables when the master of source of worry and apathy and nuance with best way pathway the on lower plan. Unfortunately, only the Johnny have made one discover. Others haven't accepted the experience of sex urgent without to describe one of the major potentialities of the fact with accounts for great number of others. As compared the limit a number of Jenny for the proposal for archiving the memory in connection with the faction available from the biographies of certain men. We were president of names of the few men of understanding achievement which of one you know to having been high sex naturally. The genius wish was their untoppably fold is the so powerful transmutation in sex energy. George Washington, Napoleon Bonaparte, William Shakespeare, Abraham Lincoln, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Robert Burns, Andrew Jackson, Thomas Edison, Albert Burry, Albert Gary, Oscar Wilde, Andrew Fon, Jordan, Eagle Patterson, Henrique Cardoso, who your acknowledge biography and will enable to do list find if you can single man in our history of civilization who achieved you understand success in calling who has not driven been well developed sex naturally. If you do not wish to rely upon biographies of men, to not live and take an inventory, to the whole you know, to be man a great achievement. And see if you can find one among one who not hide sextet. The sex energy is the creative energy of Al Jani where never was been and never will be a great leader and a builder and an artist like him and the driving force of sex. So rarely, in what will minister the tastes treatment to men, and now who will hide sex with Jenny? The man takes in who the status of Jenny is only when and if he simulations his mind so that it drains upon force available from the creative faculty in all the imagination. The chef among the simile and with which they stepping up the vibrations may produce in the sex energy. The more possession of energy no suffice to produce genius. The energy must be transmuted from desire for physical contact into some order from desire and action before which will lift to two states of genius. The far from become Janet because the great sex desire majoring and often men lowering themselves from ministering and misery and the great forces to the status of lowers and animals. White men seldom successful before 14. I discovered for the analysis in the over 25,000 peoples and men and Susan this understanding way seldom before the Asian 14, and more often when it's not striking the real peace in the fall day and beyond the Asian of 15. This is fact was so astronauding the prompted me to go into the study of the case the most carrying investigation of a period of when they 12 years. This study disclosed the fact and the major reason why the majority of men who succeed to begin to before aging 14 to 50 years tendency to dissipate their energies flow over indulgence in physical expression for emotion of sex. The majority of men never learning that hurry of sex possibility which transcends importance than mere physical inspiration. The majority in the from making this discovery after having tested many years and the period dance sex energy way up pure to 1845 to 50. This usually followed by another word in achievement. These lives of man and man you up to and sometimes well past the 1814 reflected the continuation dissipation of energy, with cloud having been profiling the powerful emotions is snow wielding in the 14 winds. Into is the habit in the male and the green time, slowing is will out. The desire of sexual expression is to be the strongest and the most impelling of all human emotion, and the very reason is desire when earnest and its transmutation in direction in order than that in the physical expression they reside on the status of genius. One American with the most people business and the frequent transmit admitted this is attractive secretary is responsible for the most enough plants create. We admit that presence lives in wind wilderness of creative. Imagination such that we could experience the wonder others simulus. One of the most successful men in America was and the successful influence on the very charming young woman and who served as an inspiration for the more 12 years. Everyone is know the man who holds her resemblance made but not everyone know real story of the achievement. The history is lacking to examples of men who attained the status of genially, and the results they were artificial mind stimulation from alcohol and narcotics. Edgar Allan Poe around the raven and while in influential lecture dreaming dreams that immortal never dead and therefore this. James really did the best writing and while under the influence of alcohol. Parents it was in Freud say the order in determining the often on the drain and the meal and the meal above the river, the mist above the strand. But Robert Burns wrote the best when intoxicated for the how long the swine my dear, I'll take the cup and kindness of yet for long lang syne. But let me be reminded to many souls to men having destroyed themselves and the end. The nature was prepared, the one positions, the with which the one base safety simulated the mind vibration plan that enables them in turn find the rest flow to which come from. No man's no here. No satisfactory substitution for naturally and simulation, and it has been found. It is the fact to know psychology there is the very close relationship between sex desire and the spiritual versions affect with the occasion of the peculiar behavior of people who participate in your orgies. Religion revolves and come among the permitted types the world rule under the Stein civilization established by human emotion. The people are influenced by actions and not reason and more feelings. The creative faculty in the mind is the reason, action, inter emotion be not be good reason. The most powerful of man emotion is the sex in the older mind simulation. Some of the which have been listed but often when they combine unequal driven power of sex, a mind stimulation and the influence which will never temporarily permanently increase the vibrations and the flow. The immersion simulation describe the flows the most commonly studied to flow their source and may be communicating with the infinite intelligence. And on there in the story halls, the subconscious mind in there and the flow another person proceeded with the one genius. The teacher who will training the director from Martin 13 13 hundred 13,000 sales peoples made heaven understand the discovery high sexed in man and the most powerful personality and the person magnetic and the sexy people always having its plentiful supply of standing if it's the vital force that may be drawn upon the use the great advantage in relationship be between peoples. This energy may be in communication to waters through the following media. Number one, the handshakes, the handshake. We thought that we had indication the stand the presence of magnetism the lake of it. Number two, tone of voice. Magnetism of sex energy is the factor with the which the voice may be clothed or the maiden musical and charming. Number three, posture and carriage of the body. We old sexed people move the brazen with the grace and the ease. 4. The vibrations of flow. Weak sexed people mix the emotion of sex with their flows of may and so that may influence flows around them. Body adornment. The people who heighten sexed were usually very careful about the person and the appearance. They usually select clothing of style become their personality, psyche, and complete. Blackson, etc. When employing salesmen, they're more capable. The sales managers look at the qualities of personal magnetism with first in requiring the salesmen. People who lack sexy energy will never become enthusiastic, no inspired to others with enthusiasm and their enthusiasm know they're the most inquired in the sales ships no matter that one selling. The public speaker, orator, pressures, liar, your salesman who lacking in your sex energy is a flop and far bigger influence others in contest. Coupled with the fact and the most people can be influenced be only through in apparent emotions. And you will understand the importance of sex energy. This is part of salesman's native ability and the master salesman try status of mastery in sales transmutation energy in sex into sales enthusiasm. Its statements may be found and the very practical suggestions to the actual meaning of sex transmutation. The salesman who know how to take his mind the subject of sex direction says a front with the most enthusiasm and determination was we would apply the original propose was acquired the sex transmutation whatever he and transmutation with their sex energy so it felt begin the lasted war the take doing whole day doing it. Transmutation of sex energy cause of the moral willpower term average person carries and you use this propose. Frozen and will find it difficult someone will acquire the ability. Your fraud this requires willpower. The real reward of the practice is more than warn the affront. The intersubjective of sex is the with which the majority of people apor the unpardonable, ignorant, and urges sex and has been acknowledged and administered standard the boars led but ignorant sex seldom used policy to associate. Men and women who you know to be blessed, yes, blessed, with high sex naturally, and you usually looking upon begging people who will bear watching the standing begging calendar blessing they usually call it cursed. Millions of people even this the age only 10 men having inferiority complexes which they develop because they false believing in the high sex nature of course. The statement of the virtue of the sex energy should not conquer the justification of the liberation, the emotion of sex and virtue. Only then they use the intelligence with describe and the misused it use the search and extend to tables and riches. But body and mind, the better used this power is the better this chapter is the same and the quiet significant the actor when we made discover practically every great leader who had the privilege and announcing and chose achievement and inspired be woman. In one instance, the woman case was modest self and wife, and for public had little, nothing. In few stand the source and inspiration has been attracted the older woman, parent the silken case, and maybe not you know to you. Intemperance is the sex habits and the will Justin determination and the intemperance in habits drinking and eating. Eating is the age in which we live we live and the age which began with the word in the interpretance habits of sex is common. The origin of indulgence may conduce the storgate of great leaders. No man can avow in himself the forces with creative imagination, while despise when the man of creature wield with violence naturally propose in connection. Every other animal indulgence is the sex naturally in moderation than with propose with the harmonies which the lays of nature. Every other animal responds the cow sex season, the man's client the corn the open season. Every intelligent purpose will know that simulation access the flow alcoholic drink and the narcotics in the front temperance which destroy the vital organs, the body, including the brain. Not every person will know, however, that when indulgent and sex expression they become absolutely destructive and terminal and the to creative front as narcotic liquor. The sex mad and the man not essentially different than the dope man mad the dope mad man both have the lost control over their facultative reason with the willpower. The sexual overindulgence did not be destroyed season in the willpower, but also lead temporary permanent stand and make causes hypochondria and imaginaries and the growth of habits develop in ignorance under the true function of sex. The front on the belief in the frightened and the boot if the may and the bosun seeing that ignorance is subjective, the sex transmutation forces to produce penalties in the open ignorance the one had and withholds from equally stepward benefits in the other. Widespread ignorance that subjective sex do when the fact subjective has been surrounded without mystery globed be drunk dark silence when the fact upon minds young people that psychology propination prohibition had that result being increasing the curiosity that desire acquired more. Acknowledge this Weber butter. Subjectively under shame of the lawmakers, under the most physical be training the best quality to educate youth the main subjective. Information not being easily available. Sheldon do is the individual enter upon height creative effort and the infant endeavor for the age of 14. Fourth, the average of man rations period of greatest ca- capabilities capacity to create being in fried than 60 days and the statement in the best the open analysis thousands of men and women and having been careful observing. They showed courage to children to fail or live before the age of 14 and children become frightened test in the approach test the old age erode the 14 fear make the years in between 14 and the 15 are rolled the most 14 full and children prodded the agent with fear and the trembling and the with hoping age antiperial. If you want to devise the most men and the began and the best work before age 40 student, the records and the most for you know the American people will find the Henry Ford and the Hono plays achievement intro had placed before the Began and the rapper world efforts James Hill was will running telegraph in the 1840s Spandul's achievement talk placed after that age. Biography of American industries list in the finance war filled evidence the period for 16 and the most productive age of man. Between the ages of the 13 and the 14 man and began learning The art of the sex transmutation, the discovery generally accidental of the more often otherwise, and a man and makes totally consistent the discovery. We may increase around the age in 35 until 14, but change that naturally begins to harmonize between the ages of 30 and 40 may underground great forces and the apply a joint stimulation to action. Sex alone might in origin to action the force were like and circle and also comfortable. When emotion begins to mix oneself with the personal quality, judgment, and balance. That person was threatened. The agent for also means that corroborate, corroborate then ten experience. When drive the desired place in of woman, based so emotion being interaction drive on desired place, peace woman, and the best motive in man and the still and the ever common being and emotion love mixed with the emotions of sex Sam man will yielding his actions in a more stancy balance and the reasons. Criminologists have discovered the most hardened criminal can be formed through the influence of man's of woman love. There the record of criminal having been for the fraud, the sex influence. The facts you well know their hurt emotional sense from the recent reflectment man's change hurt in her when change of head. A man and because of reason certain challenge personal conduct to avoid the consequence of undesirable effect in general reformation comes only through a change heard through and desire to change. Love, romance, and sex are emotion capable and drive a man wings to poor achievement. Love is emotion when and serves safely valuable and ensures balance, poise, and constructive form when combination emotional lift and altitude of genius. Where are genuine, however, who will know but a little emotion of love. The most one that may be from engagement and action right. The descriptive lasted based upon justice and the fairness and the four orders. If a good test and the world permit a dozen, Jenny could be named in the felt industry and the finance in Riley ruthless over rings where fellow men away sent totally liking in the constance the reader can easily supply the was of such man. The emotions are the state of my mind. Nature has provided man with chemistry and mind which operates in manner similar principles of chemistry and matter and we will know fact that flow and the chemist matter and chemist may create delity position be mixed certain elements non which themselves harmful when right positions the element man we says be combined to also create an element position. The employees of sex and the genealogy when mixed may turn a person into the ancient beast. When persistence of any one and more and the descriptive emotions in the human mind flow the chemistry of the mind sets up a position which may destroy one's sense of justice and the fairness. In extreme cases, the presence of any combination for tense emotions is his mind may destroy one's reasons. The role of genius consists of developing control and uses the sex, love, and reason. Briefly, the process may be stated as follows. Encourage the presence these emotions and dominating flow is just non's mind and discourage presence and descriptive emotions. This mind creating of apathy. It is arrived at the open dominating frozen well fell feed it. Through the factory willpower on made discouraging presence the unemotion, the encouraged presence the unorder. The control of the mind and the flow, the power will no difficult. Control comes from persistence and ability. The sacred control lines and understand the process of transmutation. When under negative emotion present within self and the mind is can be transmutation into positive and the constructive emotion be disciple products and charming one fruits. There is another word on genius that through voluntary self-effort. A man may attain to great heights for financial business achievement, slowly be the driving force of sex energy, but history filed with evidence that may unusually do is carry with their central trains character rich Robin Williams ability there in holding joy fortnightly. This Ori analysis through the immediate meditation and state from knowledge and the will may be helpful to women and well men. The ignorance of the cost thousand peoples their privilege how happiness enable through the process of risk. The emotions of love and sex leaving the unmistak- unmis- unmistakable marks and upon failure. Moreover, the signs of visible that who wish and read them. The man who will drive in the strong patient based upon sexy desire alone, blind the diversity and that fact to the lines his face. The emotions of loving, when mixed the emotions the sex, software and modifying, beautiful, the facial expression, no character analysis needed to tell. You may observe it for yourself. The emotion of loving brings of the developing the artist and the aesthetic nature of man is leaving the impress in upon nuns very so even after the fight was being subjective to time and circumstance. Memories of love never pass. Trailblazer guild and influence long after the source in the stimulation as faded when the nothing new in this very person who been moved to genuine love. You knows that living's endurance strength upon the human heart. The effect of love endurance because the love is a spiritual nature. The man and who cannot be stimulation of achievement beloved. Is hopeless is hopeless his dead throat the may seem to live in ever memories of love and suffice no lift in one higher plan creative effort. The major force in love and spending the self in the best my way, like fire with the born in himself for the button lives behind and little makes evidence the passage that way. The pinture often parents the woman heart for a still great lover. Go back intro and yesterday's that's times under in your mind the beautiful memories of the past love. This will soften influence past tense words and nuance. It will give source escape from relatives of life is maybe who you know. In your mind will yell to you during this temporary your world with fantasy ideas, plans, wish and challenge in trans financial spiritual status of your life. If you believe in yourself, uncomfortable because you have loved and lost in the person through. One who in love truly can never lose and try. Love is whimsical and the temperamental is natural, is ephemeral and transitory. It is comes when wish places and goes away without worrying. Accepting joy in while it reminds the but spend the wait time and worry about the temporary and worry will never bring back. Tim is also the fraud that love never comes but once. Love may come, go times without number, but there to love experience without effective in the same way. There may be and there usually is the love experience which livers deepen in pride and hurts than the others, but the love experience the beneficial accepted person who becomes resentful and the cynical when love makes this departure. There should be disappointment, water love, and there should be people's understood difference between the emotions of the love and sex. The major difference is the love and spiritual. While sex and biological no experience with touches the human heart and the spiritual force, can possibility wonderful accepted through ignorance and genuinely. Love is, without questions, life's greatest experience. It brings one common with infinite intelligence. When mixed with the emotions of romance and the sex and may be leading far and upon ladder and craft to effort. The emotions of love, sex, and romance an eternal triangle, the achievement and the building genius. The nature creates its genuine flow in other force. Love is one emotion with the many side shades and the colors love in which fells parents, the children and quite different than and ten not feels for one set word and one mixed with the emotion of sex while the other is not. The love which one feels in a true friendship and not is the same that felt without parents and children but two is a form of love. When the emotion of love for things and immediate such of the love naturally handy working but the most intense burning of the this vibration kind of love and the experience, the balance, the emotions and sex. Marriage is not blessed in the eternal affinity to love and the balance without sex cannot and the sheldon endurance love alone will not bring happiness and marriage in your no will sex alone. Man sends two beautiful emotions are blended. Marriage and it may bring about state of mind closest to the spiritual maybe know the early plan. When the emotion of the romance is the dead that throws the love and sex, the superstition between the infinite mind of man and infinite intelligence are removed, then the genius was being born. That evidence story is then told usually associating the emotion of sex. There, the interpretation of emotion which they live the competence and the makings potter and the clay the hands of God. and through which the factions of this the beautiful sprang in the interpretation will reward when put in understand bringing harmony, and she described and expressed the form on negative usually trusted the lack knowledge one proper understand the emotion of friction says ability and no disharmony between marriage of people. Fortunately, the husband in chosen life understand the true relationship between emotions of love, sex, and romance when the motivation wholly even the most lowly form often may take us the nature of labor of love. This is every world science the man wife now they're making him breaking in. But the reason is not a way understood. The making to breaking and the result in the wife and understand or the lack understand of emotions of love, sex, and romance. The pride and the were a well polygamous despite the fact of man the polygamous of the very natural the biological endure in nature and the true woman was great in influence man and wife marriage and woman to totality understand the nature of a woman permits the husband to lose interest become more understand more interested in older woman. They usually because the ignorance the difference toward subjective and sex love romance the substance propose course and the genuine love and the one's accent between and a man and his wife. This factory equally application of members the man, wife, and statement him to die. Married people often breaking over and stimulating of trivialities, analogy, cruelly, in a rare case, and trouble will often fold to be different, your ignorance and to subjectives. Man's and the greatest motivation force and desired peace of woman. The hunter who excelled during prehistoric days before down civilization and the wills desired and the great years of woman, the natural can respect. The hunter of today brings home skins when supplying fine clothes and motor cars, and a wealthy man was some desired peace woman. The only thing there's the challenge change. Only thing was change is method of placing men into accumulating large fortunes and the try creating his powerful fame and also Melissa satisfactory desired plan and woman. Take a woman worth in themselves and created how that you'd be unless until most men is this inherent desire of man placed on woman, which gives woman the power for making break a man. The woman who understands man and the natural and the factually characters and the need to have fear and competition for other woman, man and the be gigant with a man in the desire and a woman choice. The most men will admit the easy influence the natural mainly want to recognize the strong specificity. Moreover, the intelligent woman recognizes mainly attractive very easily makes no story it. Some men you know that they are being influenced by women they chose their wives around mother, sister, and effectively from rebelling against influence because the intelligence and know you know no man happen your complete without modifying influence and be right woman. He'll do it recognize the importance trust and the prize and himself the power which was done. Don't help a man achieve the success in the other force combined. Hey, oh, thank you for listening me. I will I will miss you and after podcast. Thank you for listening. Just remember, you need to read, you need to practice. I know talking English very good. I have one in English beginner level, but in the day by day, in the step by step, one day I will ration my goal. Alright? Thank you for listening.